Notice required provided the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice that this meeting was properly given in the new schedule of meetings of the Spotswood Borough Council on January 1st, 2014. The new schedule was transmitted to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel. It was filed with the clerk of the Borough of Spotswood and posted in the municipal building located at 77 Summer Hill Road, Spotswood, New Jersey. We're going to stand for a salute the flag and a moment of silence. If you could remember, two families who lost their young children last year, the Zikowskis and the Saraces.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Stolen?
Here.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Here.
Councilman Sacco?
Here.
Councilman Magalkis? Council President Seeley?
Here.
Mayor Policino? We have an ordinance on first reading, ordinance 2014-14, an ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Spotswood by amending Chapter 91, Article 1, Schedule of Fees, 91-5, Construction Code Fees, and updating fees, subsection 91-6, Licenses, Dog and Cats, and by adding Article 7, EMS Transportation of Patients, 91-26, 91-8 sewer rental fees, and 91-9 water fees.
Make a motion to pass the ordinance in the first and set it for a public hearing for December 15th.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Sacco?
Yes.
Council President Seeley?
Yes.
We have another ordinance, ordinance 2014-15, public hearing set for December 15th. An ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Spotswood by amending Chapter 199, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking Regulations, Section 199-6, Parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets, Schedule 2.
I'll make a motion to remove ordinance 2014-015, be passed on first reading, that be published according to law, public hearing set for December 15, 2014.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Sacco?
Yes.
Council President Seeley?
Yes.
We have ordinance 2014-16, public hearing set for December 15th, an ordinance amending the chapter 209 entitled Records, section 7-10, Records, subsection 2097, towing rates and other charges of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Spotswood, County of Middlesex, New Jersey.
Make a motion to pass the ordinance on the first reading 2014-16, published according to law and set for a public hearing on December 15th.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Sacco?
Yes.
Council President Seeley?
Yes.
We have ordinance 2014-17, public hearing set for December 14th. An ordinance to amend section 2-65, section C of the Spotswood Code Administration of Government entitled Municipal Ambulance Division, Third-Party Payment Plan.
Make a motion to pass this ordinance on first reading, set a public hearing for December 15th, 2014, and advertise it according to law.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Sacco?
Yes.
Council President Seeley?
Yes.
We have ordinance 2014-18, public hearing set for December 15th.
Can we just, you want that move?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
moving that to
18
the
to
end.
Okay. No, I thought it was 20. It's 18 we're moving?
Yes.
Yes, the salary ordinance.
Okay, so we'll do 2014-19. Bond ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-13 adopted November 10, 2014 of the Borough of Spotswood in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey to make certain corrections.
Make a motion to remove ordinance 2014-019, be passed on first reading, that it be published according to law, and a public hearing set for December 15, 2014.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Sacco?
Yes.
Council President Seeley? 2014-20.
Sorry.
An ordinance to amend the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Spotswood by amending Chapter 205 Water and Sewers, Article 5, Charges and Rates for Sewers by amending 205-27B, C, D, and E, 205-29, amending 205-28, amending 205-29, and 205-30, adding A and B, 205-5 meters, amending A 205-6, tapping 205-7 water rates.
Make a motion we pass ordinance 2014-20 on first reading, published court of law, and set for a public hearing on December 15th.
Make a motion. Okay, second that.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Osaka?
Yes.
Council President Seola?
Yes.
We're going to keep 18 off until after the consent agenda, is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, this is tricky too. Okay. Council President and council members, I'd like to have a vote on the consent agenda for resolutions 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016.
Make a motion to adopt those resolutions.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Osako?
Yes.
Council President?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we have Resolution 2014-211, which is fracking. I need a motion.
Make a motion?
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
No.
Councilman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Osako?
Yes.
Council President Sealy?
Yes.
Okay, now we have Resolution 2014-217, which is the PBA Local 225.
Make a motion we pass this resolution 2014-217.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Osako?
Abstain?
Council President Sealy?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll go back to ordinance 2014-08, an ordinance amending and supplementing the salary ordinance of the Borough of Spotswood entitled an amendment to an ordinance fixing and establishing the salaries and wages of certain employees of the Borough of Spotswood, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2014-018 on first reading and publish according to law.
Second?
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Osako?
Yes.
Council President Sealy?
Yes. Any comments? Anybody?
I would just like to explain my vote on ordinance 2014-211. For those who didn't hear it during the previous meeting, I'm not for fracking in any way, but this ordinance includes language that villainizes natural gas, which is what has always been one of the cleanest fuels to use. And there's just some language in it that is just overreaching as far as I'm concerned. We wanted to send a message that we're against fracking in New Jersey and certainly against it in Spotswood, and we could do that without having that type of language in there. That's all.
One take. Anyone else?
I just want to reiterate the Christmas tree lighting this Saturday, starting at 5:30. The ceremony's at 6:15, where we're going to have Coach Andy Camerano and the Spotswood High School football team throw the switch to turn on the lights, and Santa Claus is coming to town.
Mr. Mayor?
Just one thing, I believe Santa's coming around town on December 20th on a fire truck. Just put that on your,
Fire hydrant.
let your kids know.
Yeah.
Fire
hydrant. Wait, so came out.
I would like to make a motion to open to the public, please.
Second.
All in favor?
This is about absolutely anything. So if you'd like to come up, state your name and address. Glad to hear you.
clarification again. I want to get back to the water rates. 15, you said it was about 15% was the increase?
Approximately.
That's a significant increase.
That's it.
And can you tell me some of the costs that generate that 15%? You know, usually you look for the benchmark. The benchmarks I use, this is strictly me, all right? Cost of living somewhere between 2 and 3%. The average cost of increased labor in the state of New Jersey is $2.50 to $3. And that doesn't cover 15%. So maybe you can tell me, what are the significant cost items in there that affect the significant increase?
I believe our acting CFO.
Okay, anyway.
Would like to answer your questions.
Dawn and I, a couple months ago, started planning the water sewer budget for 2015.
Okay.
While going through the spending plan, we realized the revenues weren't sufficient enough to cover the appropriations. In 2014, there was 3 bond ordinances passed for the water sewer fund, which totaled about $2 million. Next year, its budget includes about $123,000 of additional debt service in order to pay back some of those projects that were already approved. One problem with the borough looks like is the revenue side is not sufficient enough to cover the appropriations. So that's why we're asking for a 15% increase in water sewer rates. There's also other projects that could be coming down the road also. One of the projects, actually, we haven't drawn down money yet, so, and like we spoke about before also, the increase only includes from April 1st on. So you're not getting a full year of the 15% also, which is why we had to go up to 15%.
Now, as part of this, I'm not quite sure I understand what you said, but is part of this retroactive to prior years where we were short in our revenues? Is that part of it?
Now, what happened in 2013, when the new meters came on board, we budgeted for what we thought was okay to get through the 2014 budget.
Right.
Now that we have a full year of actual billings and collections with the new meters, now we're pretty comfortable with what we're going forward with billing and collections, which means we need to raise more revenue.
Okay. The part of that calculation is the water we purchased from East Brunswick, is that correct? Okay. What happened to their rates?
Well, actually, they used to allow us to purchase 6 months more water for summer demand, and now we have to pay for that extra water year-round.
What about the
We can't
rates?
just take it for 6 months.
You're talking about the oil, I'm talking about the rates. Is there a fixed rate between us and East Brunswick?
We do have a contract with them right now. It's subject to CPI increase each year.
CPI, so that's 2 or 3%, right? Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, about 2-3%.
So that's is that usually 6 months you said, Don? 6 months?
6 months, we usually purchase additional water from East Brunswick, and our new contract does not allow for that. They wanted us to either take the water for the entire year, or we would be subject to the penalty for taking the extra water in the summer.
Okay, but nothing's been said about the rates. I mean, the volume is one thing, okay, about taking 6 months worth or more than that.
There was a pass-through rate increase through Middlesex Water, which hit us.
Okay.
If I may, Frank,
Sure.
I mean, what Joe Zanga, I think, was trying to explain, we have a lot of infrastructure improvements we have to make.
Okay.
And we don't have a fracking well that we can pump out of the ground some oil. So everything that we improve here, we have to pay for. And we had a huge project in the Shonley School area, Kane Avenue, that we had to do as an emergency situation last year. We have pumping station improvements we're doing. We have water pumping areas that we're improving. These are all infrastructure improvements that no one else is going to pay for. We're trying to meter it out, but some of it just has to be done at this point, and that's the situation
Well,
we're in.
having it done, and we need water, let's face it, okay? Whatever we have to pay, we have to pay, but I'm just trying to understand 15% is a big number.
It is.
All right.
It is. And someone said, well, what you should do, what we try to do is not raise it unless we have to. But the last time when Mayor Barlow was here, I think we had a 30% increase. So it was the first one in what, 5 years before that? Three.
It was 2009 and then 2012.
But we don't want to raise it like every year, just say, well, put 2% on so we don't come up against a wall like this. So we always try to make it as reasonable as we can until we have to act on it. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. But the improvements had to be made, and now they have to be paid for.
Okay, I mean, I understand expenses go up. I mean, when I pay bills, I typically expect to see a a reasonable increase, all right? And I used benchmarks, the one I indicated, okay, is that fair? Otherwise, you can't, what do you know whether it's fair or not fair? You have to measure it against something. And I mentioned the two that I use, okay? I'm sure there's more that the township has. And I'm not trying to simplify, I'm sure the calculation is difficult. And you can take all those things that Kurt mentioned, so it's,
And it's not as much operating expenses. As a matter of fact, with us taking over the water operation with our own employees, that actually saved us some money.
okay.
And it's gonna save us money in the future. So we're not looking at day-to-day operating expenses. We're talking about the bulk of this being driven by improvements.
I sat down on last Tuesday, Tuesday, with Mr. Zanger, Dawn, and the mayor, and we talked about options, 10% instead of 15. It just means you have to pay it again later. If I give you 10 this year and 5 next year, you're not gonna be happy either. Talked about 20, which would be too much at one time. 15 is too much at one time, but if we wanted to stay in the water business, everybody sitting in this diocese knew at that time it was gonna cost us some money. We're looking at alternative ways also, but right now we have to raise the rates to compensate for what we're doing.
Well, and we looked at a study,
Absolutely.
and it really didn't make a lot of difference staying in the business. If we didn't stay in the business, we'd be paying more for the water. So that alone, I don't think was driving it. It's the infrastructure improvements that are all driving it. And no one else is gonna take that over and provide it at no charge.
The debt service, and, you know, Ed just gave me a list of surrounding towns, and we're probably right around in the middle of what their rates are with what our rates are. So, you know, we're very frugal up here, and it's the debt service, it's those big projects. Kane Avenue was a big project. Even that one guy on Herman Drive, when we had to do that was almost $500,000 for that one improvement. For that, you know, just a few houses, but water, you have to have water, right? And it's gotta be potable.
So basically, what I understand, it's all these other elements on the side that are, goes in the whole pool, right? And you come up with a bunch of numbers, expenses, and
But as Kurt had
mix those
said,
up, and this will come up with 15%.
as Kurt had said at the beginning of our meetings today, we sit up here and we feel the pain just as well. So we look over things 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, because it's coming out of our pocket as well.
Yeah.
You know, I plan on someday dying here, so you know I'm gonna pay what it costs to live here. And I fought pretty hard to make sure we stayed in the water business, because I believe water's gold. Someday this is gonna pay back big time.
Well, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do, okay? You need water, okay, you can't do whatever. And whatever you have to pay, we have to pay. But I'm just saying, you know, how much of these other things are affecting, it's not strictly the water department, it's all these other
Infrastructure, it's a service, yes, sir.
I think what shocks me also is when you see the business rates here, and we're not talking about Schweitzer's, I mean, we're talking about mom and pop businesses. These water rates are pretty steep, and how they can affect businesses coming to town. So it's all gotta be balanced, but I don't know if you saw those rates for businesses, they're much higher than a single family home.
They get a different rate for the business rates?
Yes, they do.
It's higher than
Oh, yeah,
15%.
pay more.
And a lot of them don't use any more water than a household would, but they're carrying a big part of the load.
Okay. Not okay, but you.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Put some of the, okay, thank you. Thank you for that interesting.
I make a motion to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Closed session. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 BL 1975 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. Whereas the public is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be resolved by the Board of the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of any action upon the hereinafter specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows: contract negotiation. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public when confidentiality is no longer required. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Make a motion to pass the resolution?
Councilman Stoll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones? Councilwoman Jones?
Yeah, sorry.
Councilman DeSanto?
Yes.
Council President Zia?
Yes.